Promo Wrestling Pod, episode number 8, 1 past 7. Matthew Mullins is there showing you his title. Is that an NWA belt?
Yes, it is. Obviously.
Well, he's got his belt back. He didn't have his belt for the other one. Now he's got it back. He's feeling confident. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. There's been a little bit of a hiatus. I was touring the country where about 95% of our listeners come from, the United States. This Canadian drove his ass down to Seattle for the Mariners-Jays series. Always love your country. Love the people there. Love talking. This was talking with everyone. This was another great trip. Mullins, as I like to think of you as like my American ambassador. I communicate with you about things all to do with America. Thank you for letting me enter your country. I asked you for permission to enter, and you said, yes, you can enter the United States. So thank you for that, Matthew Mullins. Thank you very much. But we do have devastating news today. It's been 9 days or 10 days since we came and talked with you. We're actually celebrating a pretty tragic news. Matthew Mullins we just found out today that Matthew Mullins cheated on his wife.
What the fuck?
Where,
What? I've never been married. What the fuck?
Well, I heard through the grapevine, Rebecca told Sarah, who told Kim, who told me that.
Who the fuck are those? I have no idea who the fuck they are.
Well, listen, Mullins, look, everyone makes mistakes, but this is why we're announcing.
Just shoot me now.
We're announcing this weekend, we're going to have the Matthew Mullins Forgiveness Special. We're going to be going live, and we're going to just be talking about how we want to forgive Matthew. We're going to bring his wife on. We're going to have a little bit of a therapy.
What the fuck?
We're going to have a little bit of a therapy session. We're going to we're going to try and talk this out, Mullins. Adultery is bad, but you know what?
No shit, Einstein.
Yes.
I never committed adultery because I've never been married.
Well, I don't know. The community begs to differ, but if you're in the neighborhood.
Yeah, the community's a jackass.
Well.
Looney Tunes, man.
Well, Mullins, look, the forgiveness special will be right, and the love of this community is going to get you on the right path to forgiveness, love, excitement, and a happy marriage. I promise you that. That's what I'm going to promise.
What the fuck? What marriage? I've never been married.
Well, well, you know what? If you keep going down this adulterous path, it might feel like you've never been married, because guess what?
If I'd been married, do you think I would have all of these championship belts? No, I would not.
I'm failing to see the correlation between wrestling belts and marriage.
Because let's see, wives ruin life.
Okay.
Well, at least what
so that's why
God said.
Well, now we can start to see why the marriage problems crept into Mr. and Mrs. Mullins' household. Okay?
Oh my God.
But we're gonna fix it. We're gonna fix it.
You're so lucky you're in Canada, or I would just I would do what Homer does to Bart.
Well,
let's wrap my hands around your neck and go,
Mullins, as long as you never do that to your wife and you never cheat on her again, we're going to get you to a happy, successful marriage.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a great episode today, a massive one. We've been talking about this Fed. That's funny. At the start of this podcast, episode number 1, I had heard of IW. I thought the owner was David Yoder. Thank God that this guy didn't, smack me for saying that until I was corrected by Matt Minnick. But really, what a perfect time. We got David Jones on today. Perfect time for this. We got the Best of the Trios tournament going on in PWS. IW is doing insanely well there, showing incredibly well. We just passed the 1-year anniversary date of IW. So a lot of news, a lot of dust has been kicking up around the Federation. What a perfect time to have. The man who runs the show there, he's been involved in promo wrestling. He says since 1998 or maybe 99, somewhere in the late 90s. We talked about that, Mullins and I, the early days. And this should be one hell of a interesting interview in terms of modern promo wrestling, the history of this little sport that we do, with a man who's been through it all. David Jones, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
Very good. I'm going to speak for Mullins and say that he's having some rough times, but he's going to get through.
I am not, you jackass.
Well, anyways.
God, you need help. Professional help.
Well, David, you are having it's got to be an interesting time in your life right now in terms of promo wrestling in the community. Lots of stuff going on. How are you managing? Lots of exciting events day to day. How's it going on in your end of the world?
We're pretty busy. We just took on another third brand for iWrestling. So, I mean, I feel right now that it's at our busiest that it's ever been. But it's fun, man. I mean, we love doing it, and it's just growing every day. It's growing more and more and more. So it's just been a fun experience. A year later, you were still here, you know, and I did not expect it to even be something that lasted a month, you know.
Well, that's what we're going to get into. We're going to get into the start of it, but I guess we should start. You brought it up earlier to me. We got to crack into this. We've been talking. We've been waiting to get someone on here who was around back in the day. Jokingly, I have written a promo wrestling constitution from 1998 with people writing. Steve Austin rocks. He's a commentator, and he's contributing to this promo wrestling constitution. Was there a promo wrestling constitution back in 1998? How did this all start?
No, I mean, and I don't necessarily say that I was there from the start, but I want to say it was Austin. It was the year of WrestleMania 14. I want to say that was 1998.
Yeah.
For the wrestling buffs out there, trivia buffs. So it was right after Austin had won the belt from Shawn Michaels. And I was in AOL. That's where I got started at in e-wrestling is what we called it then. So I'm in a chat room. I'm 12 or 13 years old. You know, I'm not very good at math, so figure that out. But I'm in a WWF chat room in AOL, and the guy is private messaging me saying, "Hey, we have an e-wrestling federation. Would you like to join?" I said him back. I said, "I have no idea what that is. What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, you pick a wrestler you want to be, and you write an email role playing as that character. So like written feds, okay?" And I mean, the whole concept was just like, what do you mean write an email as the wrestler? I mean, I have no concept of this whatsoever. But he told me it would be fun and told me to try it, asked me if I liked writing. I said, I do like writing, creative writing and stuff like that. So he said it would be fun. I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. I said, I'm probably going to be awful at this. And I'm sure that it was horrendous. If I could go back and look at that first one I ever wrote out, I'm sure it was atrocious. But I remember asking the guy, I said, okay, so I pick a real wrestler. He said, yeah. I said, okay, Shawn Michaels. He's taken. Okay. I said, okay. And now look, I'm a huge DX mark. I'm a huge Shawn Michaels mark. Okay. So I'm like, okay, Triple H. He's taken. I said, shit. X-Pac. He's taken. My first ever role play was written as Mike Tyson. I'm not joking.
No. How did you even pull that off?
I am pretty sure I threatened to bite an ear if I needed to. If I needed, you know, I'm sure I was going to eat somebody's children if it came down to it. But my first ever role play was as Mike Tyson in the DX stable or whatever. But yeah, that was the start of it. We used to do as real wrestlers, you know. So I can tell you that I've won a world championship as the 1-2-3 Kid.
Wow.
I used to role play as IRS, you know? Yeah.
So you do this in this e-wrestling fed.
Yeah.
And how were the promos judged? Like, how long were the promos? How were they judged? Like, how would someone decide a winner?
It was judged similarly to how promos are judged now. Was your promo, did it feel like you were playing the character? You know, if I'm role playing as IRS, you know, I should be talking about auditing and taxes and typewriters and shit, you know. Yeah. Do what you got to do, right? But if I'm IRS and I'm role playing that I'm IRS driving down the street in a Lamborghini and, you know, off color shit that doesn't, you know, correlate, then probably not do so well. But, I think a lot of it too back then was how long your shit was. A lot of it was old school written guys will admit, like Josh McClain is an old school written guy. He'll tell you that back in the day, man, if you wrote a fucking book, you were pretty good. You were going to probably win,
Wow. So just total length. Now today, if you get a promo that's too long, people are, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, no one wants to watch it. Yeah, and back in the day, probably no one read it either. But,
It was like, oh, look, he wrote playing as Kane. How many times can you mention fire? 3,000 words. Get a little bit tiresome.
But it evolved into I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
I was just going to ask, so you were in that one e-wrestling fed, but was there like a bunch at that time or like
several? You could find, I mean, probably, I want to say, there was a plethora of them. There was no limit of them. This was just this guy's group, but there were, just like now, but even back then, probably more. There were several different ones. I mean, dude, I don't know if it started before AOL. I can't talk to you about some people claim pen and paper shit. I don't know. I've never experienced that. But I can tell you that there were different federations, just like there is now, where you would go in a chat room and you would actually type out the moves in the chat room. So like you and I would have a match. So you would write the word suplex. Okay, now it's hard to talk about this without laughing because it's so cringy. You would write out the word suplex. You'd write out the word pin. That means you've pinned me. Now the referee in the room, and I'm so serious, I'm not making this up. He would type out 1, 2, and I better type out kick out. Okay, like this is serious shit here. But these are early archaic things that went down in the e-wrestling world. Yeah.
I am fascinated by that. That is like an actual match over instant message. Some might know it better as MSN at this, like if you were, a little bit, an actual match. Mullins, would you do that? Would you do that today? Would you, in our chat, would you have a wrestling match?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard because I don't really know. I mean,
he's thinking.
Maybe,
he's thinking it might be the only way he can win a match.
What did you say, David?
I said it might be the only way he could win a match. I'm joking.
Oh, that's funny. I have 5 world titles under my belt.
3 that you gave to yourself. I just can't get over that. So would you, like, how many of those did you do? Were you good at it? Like, was there a technique? Was there a strategy?
I didn't even back then. That was considered like the, oh God, those guys are, man.
That's a little bit too much.
I will tell you, I trolled it. I would go in there and just type DDT 100 times. I'm 13 years old. Okay. But the guys would start bitching that you can't write DDT 100 times, but I said, who are you? I'm doing 100 DDTs, whatever. But so I mean, but even back then, that was kind of the redheaded stepchild. But that was a big thing, man. You could go. It was for those old school people that remember AOL. It was in the news, sports, and finance section of AOL, and you could go and find all that. I mean, I'm talking dial-up modem shit here, buddy. I'm showing my age a little bit, I feel.
Oh man. It's too good. The fact that it was like you could pretty easily access it, more simpler than today.
Oh yeah, I mean, you would see a list of them. You would go and you'd click on it and you would see a list of these chat rooms, Yeah, that's how people recruited back in the day, Brett.
They would just go in and the DDT. That's just crazy. I have to say, though, the DDT thing is killing me. I just picture a wrestler going out there and just being like, screw it, screw this match. Teddy Hart would do that. Anyone that knows Teddy Hart would. Just be Teddy Hart. So you have all these feds. You got this section that's doing that crazy stuff, which I'm going to challenge someone to one of those matches. Matthew Mullins can ref it. I'll ref it. Yeah. There we go. Well, do that match. Maybe I don't know who the heck would agree to it, but that'll be a Gary exclusive right there. So you said that it starts to evolve. How does it start to evolve from these early days of just pure text writing?
Well, I mean, at least to an extent. I mean, at this point, though, you gotta understand, we were very protective of our own real image. So we did not. If your real picture got out, oh, you were getting roasted. You were done. You know, because most of us were kids. And I mean, I'll be the first to admit, man, I was 13 years old. These people, I told them I was 18 or something. You know, I wasn't going to go in there and admit I was a kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there were several of them that did that. But it evolved into playing the real wrestlers, and then it became, you know, make your own character, create your own character instead of pretending we're the WWF. Now we're you know, the Violent Wrestling Association or something like that, and you know, now instead of playing X-Pac, I'm playing, you know, my own character that I created, you know, or whatever. Everybody started doing their own thing. So that would be more in line with where things are now. We all play our own characters and stuff like that.
And so when that starts to happen, like, how long of a transition was it? Like, do you know, like, did it take a couple years to get to that? Or was it like from the time you got in, it was probably around a little bit before, but like, when did that start to happen? And sort of, well, I don't even really know when the videos started. Maybe you even know. I don't really know when the Facebook started. I think I heard rumors of 2008. So through that 2000s, did you continue that as a hobby? Like, even you started at 13, but how did that sort of continue?
I did it from about 1998, and I would say I did it up until about 2004 pretty actively. I would poke my head in the door and see if e-wrestling even still existed after that. And I was always shocked to see that it still had a following, you know. There are still people out there that do it on websites today and message boards and stuff like that. You know, so it was probably I feel like it was about maybe 6 months to a year after we were doing the real wrestlers that kind of started to go away. You know, everybody migrated away from that at a certain point. You know, with most things, you get that elitist attitude. So you would hear of a Fed still doing real wrestlers, and what, you know, you're still playing, you're the Rock, you know, come on, dude, you're a loser. We're doing the real cool thing over here. You know?
To an extent, that still kind of happens. You know, right. Somebody puts up a photo of a real wrestler with their promo, and it's like, right. Oh, even just a photo.
It's cringy, yeah. You know, I've seen, and this is true, I've seen even today video promos where guys are playing real wrestlers.
Really?
Yeah, he's gonna hate me for this. If any of you guys have seen Adam Malloy or Adam Cage,
yeah.
When I found him, he was in David Yoder's TNA Fed, and he was playing Bobby Roode.
Oh, geez.
Yes. And I said, look, bro, stop. You know, just, hey, let me talk to you for a second, and I think you could be great. I mean, it was clear that he was good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Playing Bobby Roode, and I just, you know, look, dude, come over here. Let me show you something else. You know, let me show you let me open the door for you for another world to see, you know. And his mind was just blown that, you know, we had it was our own fake, you know, the whole same thing as when it was written back in the 90s. I mean, it was the same exact concept for me when I saw that these guys are doing, you know, oh my God, they're on their own characters and they're making up their own stuff. It was so much more fun to get into that way, you know?
Mm-hmm. And so one more thing before we move in sort of the more modern direction. So from 98, and then you guys kind of get going through your own characters, and you were in it till about 2004, you said. Would it be similar to today where you might have a stable of characters, or where you have like your main sort of one and that's what you're building off of for those years? Like, how did you experience that? How did a lot of other people's craft that? Was it similar to today where you could just have multiple ones, or did people sort of stick to just one character? How did that work?
For example, you know, I played a character Simon Style was the name of my character, and he was the playboy. He was the the arrogant, cocky gimmick. Again, Shawn Michaels mark, right? But then I came up with a dark, evil persona too, because just like in video promo wrestling, that style seems to get more attention than the the others, right? You can cut your lights off and filter your face red. You're doing pretty good. But no, really, I mean, so I feel like right now, video promo wrestling mirrors exactly the experience that I had in the early 2000s with. You got PWA, you got UPW, you got IW. I'm gonna throw my name in that conversation. CPW. You got about 4 major feds, and that's about how it was back then on AOL. But if you traveled across the tracks, you'll see that there's a whole nother world of e-feds with their own 4 major ones. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like outside of the main feds that I just listed off of video promo wrestling, there are other feds out there that have no idea of us, that think they are the big thing. I found them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You have to dig. You have to really go looking and searching and look under rocks and bridges for them, but they're there and they have no idea of us. Some of these people think they started video wrestling. You know what I mean? They don't even know that it maybe started with Eric Jesse or whatever, It's just fascinating how that works, in my opinion.
It is weird. The one time Jerry Seinfeld promo wrestling, I searched up JSPW on Facebook. I can't even remember what it stood for, but there is another JSPW out there. That's promo wrestling.
Right.
And again, not one member in there. There was like 60 people. Not one is in the sort of this little group that we know of. And so like what you're saying is correct. I tried to get added in there. They wouldn't let me in there. I think they knew I was going to go in there and like slam some litigation on their asses. JSPW's taken, and I would actually trademark. Well, anyways, regardless. So interesting to hear how, like, we're talking like 13, 14, 15 years ago, it's mirroring how it looks today. So you stick in it till 2004. You kind of peek in on it, like most hobbies. Sometimes you come away from it, but you still keep track of it. How did you transition into the Facebook world of this? Because I'm assuming, like they're similar, but I mean, again, not really totally correlated. How did you get into that at all?
Okay, so I'm a member of several different wrestling discussion groups. So one day, a guy posted a link in one of the wrestling discussion groups that we're in, and he was saying, come check out my group. We have how did he put it? He has like a role play federation within the group. So I said, okay, well, let me check this out. I'm curious as to what this is. I have no idea what to expect. So I just joined the group. And the way they decided matches and stuff was completely bonkers. It was completely backwards. But I saw that there were guys doing video promos. Some of them hilariously bad. And other ones, there were about 3 or 4 that were really good. And I said, man, this is pretty cool. It reminded me of the old AOL stuff for me, I had no idea this was a big thing. I thought I had just stumbled onto some diamond in the rough. I thought, there's no way there's a plethora of people doing this, right? I'm thinking I've just found the 4 dudes that are doing this, right? So I messaged them because the guy that was running the group was trash. I couldn't begin to go into detail as to just the way he ran his entire operation was just awful. He pretty much let them fall to the wayside. He wasn't fooling with them anymore. And I said, look, guys, I liked watching y'all's videos. I thought it was cool. I said, I think if we do this my way, or, again, not trying to make it my way, but if we do this under my thing, I think we could really make this something big and have fun with it. What do y'all say? So the 4 people at the time, they were for it. And then that's how iWrestling started. We branched off and made our own group.
And so you branch off, and that was a year ago?
That was a year ago.
So a year ago, you open up a group with 4 members.
Yes, active wrestlers, yes.
And today, I think I know Elf has what, 700 and some members. It's over 700, correct?
Yes, it's 7:30.
How the heck in 12 months do you go from
I don't know.
4 active competitors to not only you have 700 members in there, whatever, but you've got one of the healthiest rosters, and we'll get into the competitiveness of them shortly. That is rapid expansion. How do you do it?
Well, I cannot discredit the man you mistook me for, David Yoder. I don't know what he does to recruit people. At this point, I don't really question it. I know that his methods are not necessarily always on the up and up. He may add you to a group that you not ask to be in. I'm sorry, okay? But most of the time, people end up, same thing with me, they end up getting thrust into the group, but then they see what's going on and they go, oh, well, this is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some people get aggravated at him, and he is you just want to strangle him sometimes if you've ever had an interaction with him. But he is a good-hearted dude for the most part. He is weird, but it's okay. He means well, and he helped recruit a lot of people. I had to, I spent a lot of time. I don't promo. I'm not a competitor, so I'm able to spend my entire time finding feds and messaging people. And I will admit that, like, I found PWA, and when I found PWA, by the way, I was fucking blown away. That was when I realized this was a big deal outside of my thing.
When was that? When did you stumble upon PWA?
Very early. I mean, maybe 2 months into it. We had advertised. We didn't know where to advertise at. We were advertising in wrestling groups. We were advertising in comic book groups. We were just advertising in video game groups. Just, hey, if you ever wanted to be a wrestler, have you ever wanted to pretend you're a wrestler? We were finding like role play, like LARP groups and shit. Because I had no idea elsewhere. That's why we have a lot of guys that started off this group that you have never seen before. Because we came from nothing.
Well, that's remarkably creative to be going into like LARP groups. I mean, really, it makes sense, right? It's brilliant, but remarkably creative. So you got the recruiting cast, you're doing that, you're doing creative, but once you get the members in, you have to have a product and you have to have a system that is appealing. So let's talk a bit about IW's system and how you guys operate there. I had actually mentioned it to you, and I'll say it again. We talk about feds being unique. When new feds are created, it's, oh, this one's unique, this one's unique, oh, this one's a little bit different. IW is different, especially, we talk about the other wrestling groups out in the nether, but in this little wing of promo wrestling with the PWA, CPW, UPW, IW is different from the rest. So, David, talk to us a little bit about the theory behind IW, how you installed some of that, your theory and your experience from the past in e-wrestling into IW, and how that sort of blossomed into the group that we see today.
Well, first off, thank you for mentioning that it is unique or whatever. I appreciate that. So when I started iWrestling, and I decided that I'm going to make this into an e-wrestling. I still call it e-wrestling. Sorry, I don't know if that's even a term now. But when I decided I was going to make an e-fed, I thought back to the days when I competed in written email feds on AOL. And to me, the number one thing that ruined it for me was busting my ass all week, writing up shit. I mean, dude, I used to skip school so that I could fucking spend time Yes, writing up shit. Okay, I mean, I was heavy into it, and then you lose the match, and you not only lose the match, you lose the match because they didn't think yours was good enough. You know what I mean? I worked just as hard as the other guy. And of course, most people think they worked better, right? Most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay. And I know, because I know from experience back then, if you lose too many times and you think it's bullshit enough, you quit. You know? So I said, okay, I don't want these people to quit. I don't want these people to think that they lost a match because they weren't good enough or because they didn't do a good enough job. It shouldn't, to me, it shouldn't be about that. So I decided early on that this was going to be strictly for fun. There was no competitive aspect necessarily of it. Everybody was going to win. Everybody was going to take a loss. It would take turns. I went into the booking in the mindset of nobody should lose a match 3 times in a row. You're losing a match 3 times in a row, that sucks. You're actively participating. You're putting out videos. You're doing the work. You should get a W every once in a while. Maybe not as much as another guy who is clearly better, but you should still win sometimes, right? You know? Mm-hmm. Didn't know later on that would become such a fucking topic, okay? It really was done in a good-spirited manner, you know what I mean? But that's kind of the philosophy that started off IW was, you know, just if you come in, if you put in the work, you will win sometimes. You will lose. Everybody's going to lose. The way I pitched it to people was it is literally no different than the concept of actual wrestling, which is what we are emulating. It's fake. This is fake, or whatever you want to call it. It's predetermined. No different than Raw. You know, hell, Cesaro should win more times than he fucking does. You know, and we're all pissed off about it, right? So in this, I can kind of fix that. At least that's how I started it off.
I want to spin this to Mullins quick because, and we're going to crack into this right here. Let's get into this, the theory and the concept behind predeterminedness versus competitiveness. Now, Mullins, you brought this up, I think on episode 2, episode 1, one of them, where you talked about when you get losing a lot, you know, and maybe the refs are just, you know, you feel like you're doing good. This is like David just said, you're putting in the effort.
Exactly.
So,
and that's why I'll admit I've rage quit multiple times, because it does get frustrating. You're busting your ass. You feel like you're just throwing up what you can, and you come up short. I mean, I don't expect to win every match, but I don't want to lose every match either.
Yeah, and I think, you know, there's other people too in the community, people that want to participate that maybe even haven't participated, certain members of the community who, and this isn't you, Mullins, because you can cut a damn good promo, but, you know, sometimes you get hand of the loss. But there's other people in this community who their skills just aren't, they would never win, you know, multiple times in a row. And in a competitive fed, they would lose all the time. Like, there's just no other way around it unless they're getting a no-show. So in that sense, I understand it. So Mullins, is this a big reason why you're going to debut in IW? Was this a big reason why you're looking at it more from the creative side and you're like, you know what, I get to have fun and do creative? Is that what drew you to IW?
I think it's just more that I'm more open to anything now, because like last year I was doing the drafting based feds there for a little while. After I left the competitive-based e-feds, that's what I was doing, and I had arguably my best run in my career. I've held Scotty Labatti's Federation's World Class title for nearly 300 days, from June 2016 until the night after WrestleMania.
So you're starting with something new, but IW certainly alleviates some of your concerns with a situation where you could find yourself in a 6-week losing streak, correct?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That won't happen.
See, and that's, I can totally understand that. So when you describe it there, David, when you describe it there, it makes sense. Like from a purely logistical sense, that you know what, we're going to instead focus on the creativity. So why, in your mind, do you think that something like, I mean, wrestling's fake, it's predetermined. Why do you think when we apply it to actual promo wrestling, to certain members of the community, it can be a real stigma, it can be a real like, oh, they're predetermined? Why do you think that?
I think people take it in an offensive way. I don't know if they think it somehow discredits what they do in the competitive side. I've made it well and clear that competitive scoring is just opinion based. That is literally all it is. I judge. I'll just throw this out real fast. I judge martial arts. I'm a martial arts instructor. That's what I do for a living. Every 3 months or so, we have a tournament, and we watch young kids come up and do their performance in front of us, their routine, right? And I watch them and I give them a score at the end of their routine. It's my opinion of what I thought they did. Now, if I had $1 for it, and it's 3 judges that judge at the same time. Now, if I had $1 every time I threw a score out to a kid, a high score, and look over to the guy next to me that threw a low score, and I'm going, how the fuck did you watch that young man and think, a 4, right? It's the same 1 out of 10 type of thing. The same thing in promo wrestling in this. I mean, you can watch, let's just say you can watch a Legion promo, and somebody might love it, think it's the best thing they've ever seen, and you can watch and talk to another guy and go, yeah, it was all right. What do you mean it was all right? It's all about who watches your stuff that day. And I think the whole predetermined thing just kind of, I don't know why people get bothered by it. I really don't know. I mean, it doesn't take away from anything in the competitive side. I think guys that do the competitive thing, and it's mostly guys that win a lot, I don't think they like to think that their competitive wins don't mean anything. I don't know if they'd take it that way. I really don't know.
Well, but you've lured guys over, from competitive feds.
Didn't lure anybody.
Sorry, not lured. I shouldn't say you.
I get that shit a lot, Lipke.
IW and its concept, I should say, has it has an allure to it. It has a sort of, I can go over there and be creative. Originally, when I was forayed into this, at first I was like, well, if it was predetermined, why wouldn't people just put up a promo? Just whatever type of promo just to get it in, and I know I'm winning anyways, whatever. But that's such an amateur thought, that thought that I had earlier, because it's not about that. And Eric Jesse was one who had actually pitched. He believed in predetermined, focusing on that sort of aspect, and then focusing on the fun, focusing on the creativity. And like you had said, if there's people who are still really good and doing that stuff, they would be rewarded if you're putting in a lot of effort. If someone tried to abuse the system by just, putting up, you could tell they were being lazy or trying to take shortcuts, then obviously they wouldn't get to the higher pendulum. It's kind of like real wrestling in that sense.
Well, yeah.
And so carry on. No, go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say, I mean, there is a competitive side to iWrestling. There is. I mean, we do not administer scores. We do not give critiques unless you ask. But there's a tier level in IW. And when we started, I mean, I'll be honest, we were filled with guys with special needs, special abilities or whatever you want to call it. We had a lot of guys like that in the group. And that's, again, where it harkens back to, I'm watching 2 guys who are on the same level, and maybe neither one of them are necessarily that good. Who's to judge who's better here? We'll write them a match. We'll make both guys look strong in the match. He'll win this week. Maybe he wins next week, So I think I went on a tangent there. Sorry, but
no, that was fine. I had just closed off your video for a sec because you'd cut out. So sometimes that's an easy way to just get a better little connection, but
Oh,
it's
my
all
bad.
good. So you have the tiers, and so you still have that competitive edge, and I think it shows.
It does.
You guys have some really creative stuff. You'd mentioned Adam Malloy, you got Legion over there, you got a lot of talent. And so how do you view that talent? Like I said, you started off and you didn't, but now you got like an incredibly talented roster.
Thank you. I mean, it just comes from people who just want to have fun, man. I was actually trying to pull up Facebook Messenger recently. I won't drop his name. I don't know if he want, I'm not going to say who he was, but he recently just joined IW, and his whole sole purpose of joining was that he's turned off from the stress and drama at times of the competitive scene. I'm not talking about another EFED. I'm just saying we all know it's there. Okay. IW largely does not have OOC problems within our actual group page. I'm not saying other groups do. I'm just saying when guys come to me and say that they're experiencing something like that and they've heard the good things about IW, well, that makes me smile. You know what I mean? That's the allure. It's all friends here. The point of two guys in IW having a match, it doesn't matter who wins. Matter of fact, I've had guys message me, and this does not, I mean, maybe I don't know, but I don't think this happens much in competitive wrestling, or competitive promos. But we've had guys message me and say, hey, I want to put him over this week. Let him win. I want to make him look strong. Okay, totally fine with that. I will say that we had, I don't know if you've got to see Cody Fox. He was in the PW.
Yeah.
He had a feud with Jeff Teeters. Jeff made Cody Fox. He put him over twice, strong. He elevated him up. I mean, he made, in IW anyway, he made Cody Fox a star, by putting him over twice on two major occasions. And they played the veteran and rookie feud. Jeff was playing the I'm the seasoned vet, you're the young buck, you're trying to take my spot, and Cody Fox prevailed twice over him. Now, Jeff did win too in this. They exchanged victories, but at the end of it all, it didn't matter who won or lost. Cody Fox is now a main event status guy in IW. Jeff is always going to be a main status guy in IW, and that was just a great thing. And Jeff wanted to put him over, and that was cool. Who does that,
Well, that's a real community coming together and saying, and Jeff is someone who he's so good. Like I said, he's not going to lose a spot.
Right.
He's not going to lose a spot from one loss. You're not going to lose your spot if you're good enough from 5 or 6 losses. You can just lose. Right. And look at Jericho in real life wrestling. The guy loses.
Right.
He won a couple, at the end of his career, but he loses. But so that's how it goes. Now, you and Mullins, feel free to chime in here too as a Fed owner, as someone who could analyze this from a Fed ownership. But David, like when you have that opportunity, you have guys coming at you and saying, hey, I want to put this guy over, or you have the liberty to construct a 3-match feud where you can make sure that guys level off and then someone gets the win. From a storyline perspective, like this has got to be, you had mentioned the rookie veteran, but in all sorts of aspects, this has got to be a huge leg up on a competitive Fed, whereas competitive Fed sort of has to maybe throw in like an interference angle or something to make that happen, whereas you can fully construct it and let it play out.
Right.
And so how is it like that as a booker? Like, you must really appreciate that, and you must realize that, man, you got a lot of potential there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've had certain feuds go on for 2 months, with certain things happening and the wins and losses that I don't think you could do in a promo competitive Fed. Not if you have scores involved where Jeff Teeters is scoring higher than Cody Fox, for example, every time. Well, then Cody Fox isn't going to win. Even if the goal is to make Cody Fox a star, he has to actually, get a W over him. I mean, we book it like, I've watched wrestling all my life. As long as I can remember. My earliest memories are Ted DiBiase. You know what I mean? So I'm not into business or anything, but I have an idea. Don't we all? You know, we armchair book all the time, right? So obviously something we're doing is right with the way people like the storylines. And that was just one thing, again, that I brought over from the e-wrestling thing, was the detailed match results, the detailed storylines and stuff like that. I know there were certain write-ups and things like that, but I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. There was not a strong emphasis on creative storylines in promo wrestling before IW, not that I ever saw.
Yeah, and it's certainly it's taken to another level. That's what I would say. As someone who's come in senior fed recently, I've been looking at everything. That's what I see. Mullins, what do you think? Do you think IW is really like taking it up a step in this community with its storytelling, with its ability to sort of engage in that sense? Would you agree?
Oh, yes. I mean, definitely.
Yeah, I think so too. So now you have the predeterminedness, but you still have amazingly talented individuals. PWS Best of the Trios comes along. You've got this whole roster. That's a competitive tournament. But there was still rumblings before that tournament with IW, and there was rumblings between the competitive, non-competitive, and some people switching sides and a little bit of tension gearing up. So what compelled you as an owner, and I'm going to assume it was you, but if it was one of the boys who came forward with the idea, I'm not sure, to put forth a few teams into the tournament, what motivated that decision?
It's not a large majority of people. I think it maybe at some time it was. I think, again, IW has several people in it. Is there a problem? Wait.
No, I just put it on there for a sec.
Oh, my bad. Where was I saying? A lot of people have tended to look down at us, turn their nose up a little bit at our guys. My guys have developed a little bit of a chip on their shoulder from feeling like the community doesn't respect them, doesn't think they're good enough, doesn't think they can hang. We were gonna do the EFED, what was it called, the EFED battle or whatever, where it was the different groups or whatever, actually like representatives. What was that called?
I can't remember the name, and JSPW is in it. I can't even. Well, that Mullins and I had a. Well, right. Mullins had to be kicked off the team because he was treasonous.
Not really. I mean, this is right on the time when we try to put the band back together. Myself and Brett, we used to be a tag team. We called ourselves the North American Connection. We were the former CPW Tag Team Champions. So I kind of been wanting to, try to get back together as a tag team. And unfortunately, right around the time that it finally happened, fortunately, the Oilers happened to have been in the playoffs. So instead of showing up for our tag team match in CPW, he decides to hightail it to a damn hockey playoff game.
It was their first playoff game in 11 years, I might add.
I don't give a damn if it's been 100 years. I reminded you, messaged you.
Well, whatever.
And you didn't respond back to me until the very last minute.
Well, you know what? So it's fine.
Because of him.
I had to test.
So we kind of had that mini feud, and
yeah, you would think for that EFED tournament where so much emotion here, you'd think I'd remember the name. I apologize to Cowbell.
Okay. Not a big deal.
Carry on.
Yeah, so we were going to do that, but I think the last slot ended up getting taken by TOPW, which was funny considering TOPW's position at the time. No offense, Mullins.
Okay, I wasn't the owner of it, so.
Yeah, you did all the work though.
Not the owner of TOPW. That's all Sean.
You might as well have been the owner to me, dude. You were doing all the work.
Yeah, pretty much.
So anyway, so we were going to do that, but we didn't meet the requirements in time or whatever. So when the trios tournament came up, I had been thinking about doing the PWS stuff for a while, but and no offense to anybody, I didn't want to have my guys go out there and get canned due to bias or anything like that. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't exist. Let's not, let's not discuss that elephant in the room, dude. But so I just thought I didn't think if we can't get a fair shake, I don't want to do it. So I talked to Dylan about it, and he seemed to think that we would have a fair shake, give it a shot. I don't think you'll be disappointed. You got some good guys. I think they'll translate well into the competitive thing. So, okay, let's put some teams together.
And you put some teams together, and you put some damn good teams together. How do you view the success so far for a bunch of predetermined guys? They're showing incredibly well.
Yeah, I mean, you got Cody Fox, Nappy, and King Coyote, who were Peppermint Double Mocha, which was just a ridiculous name. I told them, whatever. They were actually one of the, I was actually mad that we were so close in the brackets. I think they were a team that was definitely, no one knew who the hell they were, but they had a great chance at pulling it out. If they maybe would have been on the other end of the bracket, they didn't have to face Legion, but right.
And it's looking good. I mean, but there's still been a little bit of a war in the comments section, even though IW's doing great. What do you transcribe that to? I mean, outside observers, there's been a lot of people just staying quiet, a lot of people just saying, hey, we're all in this together, whatever, but there is still a little bit of that friction. How do you win them over? Do you care about winning over? What's the deal there?
The guys at this point that are still harassing and egging on issues are guys that I've dealt with in the past, and I have no interest to deal with in the future or anything. They're a non-issue to us. At this point, if you can't watch if you can't look at what's been presented in the PWS tournament by our guys and go, okay, look, maybe I was wrong. Maybe they do actually put effort into their promos. I think a lot of people look at IW from the outside and they go, oh, it's predetermined. They obviously, there's no way they're putting effort into their promos. It's just a bunch of guys vlogging basically and getting matches thrown at them. That's not the case, obviously. So if anybody at this point still thinks that, IW guys can't hang or don't do good promos, then they're ignorant, and we have nothing to that. There's nothing else to say,
Yeah, and I would I tend to agree. I always like to go into things with an open mind. If anyone listening to this that hasn't went into IW or even PWS, if you want to start out there, look up some of these guys, you will see that there is a lot of talent going on there. And I mean, just as good as competitive feds. I mean, just as good, same level.
There's no difference. There's no difference.
No, there isn't. There really isn't. It'd be indistinguishable if you mesh the two together. It just disperse like normal. Like it's the same standard. I mean, but even some really good, like Adam Malloy. He's the remarkable scenery guy, right?
They call him the king of scenery. Yeah.
I mean, even just that.
He's got a good one too for y'all this week. I think he's shooting from space, Brett. All right.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. The guy's pulling up these vistas like some Hallmark card or something. What the but talk about effort. No one could accuse anyone of not putting forth the effort when you're driving and capturing these scenes. I mean, they'd look great in a Viagra commercial, for God's sakes, and this guy's doing it for, promo wrestling. It's awesome. It's amazing to see. But the other thing that I guess we kind of have to address, and another thing that's popped up here that, again, makes IW unique, but with uniqueness comes a little bit of controversy. Sure. But it's part of the identity now, is sort of this exclusivity. I maybe noticed this a month ago. Am I correct on that? A couple weeks ago? 3? When did this maybe it started earlier, but I had seen a member from our side announce, actually Anton, he announced that, as of this date, I'm exclusive. I'm ending my dates elsewhere, blah, blah, blah. But how did the exclusive idea start?
All right. So, again, hearkening back to my experience before, I started to realize that the similar situation was happening in the early days of iWrestling when we started to really branch out and get guys from PWA or from other feds. The problem was that we were having was that these guys are everywhere. They're everywhere. They're no showing events because they don't know when the fuck is what, right? It's their 10th fed. It's their 10th match of the week. They're cutting a promo. They don't remember. Of course, you go back to. I'm sorry if I start talking fast. I'm ranting here, but you get into the bullshit where they go, tag me in the card. I already did, idiot. Okay, you've already been tagged. Save the post. I'm not holding your hand through this. So I started looking at how can I get these guys to focus on IW because here's my thing. And again, this does not take away from anybody else, but we bust our ass on these written results, okay? We put a lot of time into them. We put a lot of work into them. And it pissed me off to have guys that I felt weren't fully vested in what we were putting into them. And we're getting back nothing from them but, confusion and, disarray and not knowing what's going on. So I go, okay, well, let's make something out of this. Maybe we can make these guys even feel like a big deal. And this was maybe 2 or 3 months into doing it. We started doing the IW exclusive contracts. All that means, and I explained this to the people when they joined, IW exclusive does not mean you win more. That has literally nothing to do with it. iWrestling exclusive does not mean you get the fucking title belts, okay? It has nothing to do with that. What it has to do with is if you want us to write extra for you, if you want us to really craft you a storyline that you can sink your teeth into, and really get into it, and it's going to be a big deal, and it'll have extra writing to it. It won't just be on the results. It's not just a match. You get more than that. You get segments. You get special attention. Then go IW exclusive, and we will give that to you. That's it. If you want that extra detail, if you like iWrestling and you like what we're doing and you want more of it, go exclusive. Focus to us. We'll focus back to you. It's a give or take, It has become later on down the road, like in today's, in 2017, it seems to be a badge of pride for some people, like Anton. He fucking loves IW. I don't think anybody, maybe he loves IW a little too fucking much sometimes, but, he's a great guy and he loves IW and he wants to go exclusive. That's his MO. I am not, I just want to go on the record, I am not brainwashing people. This is ridiculous, all right? If I could brainwash people, I would brainwash my wife to get off my case, okay? If I could brainwash people, I'd brainwash my boss to give me more money, right? This is stupid, okay? I cannot force people to enjoy their hobby the way they want to. But by all means, as an eFed owner or anybody in this room, if somebody comes to you and says, hey, man, I want to go IW exclusive. What are you going to tell them? No, right? And not only that, but I found as I was recruiting that I wasn't the only person that did exclusives. PWA did exclusives. So, I know they don't anymore with Ryan in charge, but at one point in time, PWA did exclusives. I know for a fact because I tried to recruit them and they told me they were PWA exclusive. Okay, cool. Like Fred Vaden, that guy. I don't even know if he's a big into it anymore. But I remember seeing him early on and going, wow, I want to get that guy. He was exclusive. Okay, well, that's how it happens.
And so how does the sort of how could I describe it? How does that IW exclusive work? Is it you opt in and you're are you locked into a certain amount of time? Can you opt in, opt out at any time? How do you, if someone came to you and said, hey, I'm IW exclusive, but this place wants me for a match, is that all right? Like, how does that work? How do you fit those sort of accommodations in?
I give him this right here. That's it, dude. I mean, Legion is IW exclusive. He's been exclusive since October. He's done other things. These people aren't really bound to anything, right? I mean, it's pretend, all right? If by all means, I mean, I've had guys quit that were IW exclusive that have joined other EFEDs now. What am I going to sue them? So it's not a big deal. Again, this is something that kind of has a bad stigma for us, but the core group of people in IW fucking love it. They're passionate about it. Maybe they're sometimes too passionate about it. Maybe it rubs people the wrong way. Maybe it comes off the wrong way, but they really just love it, man. I mean, it's a strong community. It's a community that kind of exists in itself. A lot of our people don't exist outside of it. And I'm trying to help expand that a little bit. But, it is what it is. Yeah.
So yeah, and I like that you took the time to explain that, because I think the initial perception when some people would hear exclusive, they're exclusive, is that they're locked in and it's this rigidest thing, and they're not free to explore other places, and if they'll cause this stir if you were to leave or whatever. So that sort of relaxed approach, and I do like the fact that look, you can be exclusive, but it's not a guarantee for titles. I like that too. I think that's a good idea.
Let me just make, I don't want to say anything that isn't true or whatever. The only title that is exclusive in IW that only exclusives can get is our world championship. Okay. So if you're not exclusive to IW, you have a very slim chance of winning the world title. And that's only because I'm old school. I think to me, if you're the world champion of a Fed, you're the face of that Fed. We give that the guy that is world champion in IW gets more attention and storyline than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look good for me if Legion is our world heavyweight champion. He's our badass. He's our guy. And he loses to Anton in another Fed. And that's happened before, and no disrespect to Anton or anybody like that. But if I sent him over to another Fed and he lost to a guy that I truly don't believe is on his level, then my world champion just got his ass kicked in PWA or whatever, right? Now, of course, Legion is Legion. If he wants to do something, dude, he's going to do it, right? I don't control fucking Travis Cole, all right? Let's, again, get these misconceptions out of the way.
But, well, and you bring up an interesting point. And look, aside from, being the greatest co-owner in the world for Gary and JSPW, I don't foray into the world of running EFEDs, but I assume that there could almost be a little bit of politics there, a little bit of gamesmanship, where not only does maybe your world champion lose, but maybe the other Fed, knowing that guy's your world champion, could pull strings. I'm not saying that that's happened, but knowing this community, I'm pretty sure it could happen. Am I wrong there? Or?
You're definitely not wrong. I mean, and you talk about the ins and outs of the community and the bias and kind of the unspoken elephant in the room, but it is there, and I'm protective of the guy that we market as our top dude. So, as far as IW exclusive, the only one is the world title.
Well, it's even funny. I couldn't even criticize that if I wanted to, because I'd be a hypocrite. Because when I became CPW World Heavyweight Champion, I had made myself CPW exclusive. I dropped out of IPW. I dropped out because I thought, well, I'm the world champion. This is, even in the pursuit of it, this will be my focus. So I think a lot of competitive guys will do that sort of anyways. If they have a real set goal at the top of a certain Fed, they'll just sit there and focus.
Right. It's not that far-fetched. It's not that far removed. I mean, if you look at our titles right now, at least in Alpha, you got Legion's the World Heavyweight Champion. He's exclusive. You got Jeffro the IQ is the North American Champion. He's not exclusive. You got Casey Moran and Shooter J are the tag team champions. They're not exclusive. Onions just lost the hardcore title, but he's in contention for it again against two other guys who aren't exclusive. And then our TV champion is an exclusive guy, Purge, Brandon Mixon. Yo, what up? But, you know, that's most of our title belts are held by guys that are not exclusive to IW. So that whole misconception, it's bullshit. You know, it's just people getting upset. People don't know me. I know that I maybe come off sometimes brash, outspoken. I have philosophies and theories against competitive scoring that I think are bullshit. And that rubs people the wrong way. I don't mean it to, but it is what it is. They think it's me shitting on their efforts and their work. I'm not trying to, but it is what it is.
Mullins, as a competitor who's going to be stepping into IW on a regular basis here, do you think that's a fair balance that, you know, okay, World Heavyweight Championship, that's exclusive. Do you think that makes sense? And then the other titles, hey, it's fair game.
That's tricky. I believe the world. That's a really a tricky question. I mean,
it's fine if you disagree. I mean, it's okay.
It's in between because it's a really tricky question to answer. It's like there's really no right or wrong answer to that.
Right.
It's just like, okay. I mean, personally, I believe if somebody's putting all this work they're putting this work, this effort, time into it, then they should be able to go for it. And, you know, title or not, that's a whole different ballgame. But they should be at least eligible.
Oh, they can compete
for the
for
title.
It. Yeah, they can compete for it. We've had guys compete for it. They don't win it. Do they go into it knowing they won't win it? Most of them do. And it's not even. And again, it's not about the loss. To main event the show with Legion is a big deal for people.
Exactly.
Let's just put it out there. You know, I'm going to brag on the guy. I think he's one of the best of all time.
He is. I mean,
when I watched him, the first time I ever saw one of his promos, I was totally just blown away. My wife, who fucking hates all of this, okay? She fucking hates it, right? She hates that I'm doing this right now, you know? She was in the kitchen doing something, making me a sandwich, right? And she's, you know, she's going to kill me. She hears him doing his promo. She turns, she starts watching it. And all she said was, that one's good, and keeps going back to what she's doing. Now, that's somebody who fucking thinks this is the dumbest thing I do, right? Okay? So I think that speaks volumes. If he can transcend to people who have no interest in this whatsoever, I think he's pretty damn good. So he's going to win most. To say it's predetermined when you go up against goddamn Legion, come on, dude. Is it really? You know? He's mostly winning, you know? He hasn't been pinned yet in IW yet, you know? He's our Brock Lesnar. He's our Undertaker, you know? Whatever you want to call it.
Well, he is damn good, and he's one of the most respected guys.
Right.
Oh,
yes. He's, you know, I think I'm up against him this weekend in PWS.
Now, I will say that, like Mullins.
Pitbull and another one.
Now, Mullins, I do want to tell you that, you know, you're on our Omega group. We have 3 main groups.
Oh, Omega.
Now, the main title.
I'm booked in the Fatal 4-Way. I already know.
The main title on Omega, the Global Championship, is also obtainable if you're not exclusive. So you can be the headline of that show. You know what I mean?
I mean, for me going exclusive to IW, I guess it's something never say never because you never know. I mean, that's the pen. I said right now I'm competing in 3 feds.
No, I misspoke.
IW and WGW.
I misspoke. I meant that you don't have to be exclusive to win the title on that show is what I meant. I'm sorry, I misspoke.
As in Mullins, you could just, you know.
Mullins could pull one out. Yeah.
And what do you think about a gimmick where Mullins is like this crazy chef and all his promos emanate from the kitchen and he's making these weird concoctions with like soy sauce and barbecue sauce? Like, would that be a gimmick that IW could get behind? I want to just be Mullins' manager and pitch gimmicks to other feds. So this maybe consider this a start, David. Would you consider Crazy Chef Mullins?
I think we're definitely ready to greenlight that, Brett. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, dear God.
We got to get him a chef hat. He's got to have the classic white chef hat.
Yeah.
Right?
Mullins, can you do like a cross-eyed look? Like, can you just do something like that and just look crazy? And I don't know, put some
that hurts my eyes too much.
white wine in a toaster with like salmon fillets or something. Just weird stuff. I'm gonna anyways. Sorry. I love coming up with Mullins gimmicks, but I'm gonna start.
Yeah, we can do a whack job.
Well, no, it's because they're entertaining. So David, I think now we've got an understanding. We've got an understanding of the predeterminedness, the exclusivity that it's totally optional. Buy in, buy out, whatever you want. I buy your logic for the World Heavyweight Champion being exclusive. I totally understand that. What's the future going forward for IW? I would judge it as in terms of it's growing. But what's the future? Are we going to see any more changes? Going to run through with this? You said you got 3 brands now. How do you foresee it evolving, and how do you foresee the external community sort of adapting, understanding, or are they still going to reject? How do you foresee the next few months, maybe even the next year?
To be honest with you, dude, I don't. I don't. I have literally done this for the most part, with some exceptions. For the most part, I plan IW a week at a time. I really do. I don't book too long in advance because in this game, no different than wrestling, a guy can leave on a dime. And, if I've dedicated this big 2-month program to a guy and he quits or he just disappears, or whatever may happen, or he quits, gets fired, gets pissed, whatever, now I'm up shit's creek, right? So for the most part, we book them week to week. We try not to have too much long-term planning. We have 3 major brands. And one thing that I think that we do differently than most is our brands are all their own group. So our Saturday night show, our Monday night show, and our Tuesday night show are all 3 different groups that exist of themselves. And their rosters are big enough that if they were their own eFed, it would be, it would suffice, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if anyone else does that. I like to think that's a pretty cool thing because every 3 or 4 months or so, we do a super show where all the groups come back to the main group and we do a super show like you were on with Josh McClain.
Yeah.
And that was one of our super shows. And that included all of our roster. I think it was like 20 matches on it with close to 50, 60 people on it, So
yeah, that was a massive card. Even when I was looking through it, I'm like, holy crap. Like, I know how big the group is, but really, like, that's probably the biggest card I've ever been on. Like, right. In terms of numbers, for sure. And the match with Josh McClain, there's another guy that's been involved in this for a long time.
Right, he has. We actually share a lot of stories from the AOL days.
See, like, incredibly unique. And for a guy who started in text-based whatever, like, this guy is super talented, eh? Like, I blown away when I started seeing his promos, and then just the chance to promo against him again, and that was in IW. And hey, I still love that promo just as much as I love doing competitive. So it was just as good.
Right.
Great opportunity too. So you book it in in short-term increments, but you still have the sort of longer-term goals. I like that idea too.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you too. Like, for example, your match with Josh, when I booked that match, I don't know who's going to win yet. We do take into account the work effort shown throughout the week. Now, I really don't know the answer to this because I really, at this point, I used to keep an eye hard on the competitive feds. I don't have the time to anymore like I used to. How often do competitive feds, how long do they give you in between the match card has been posted and the result and the deadline? What's the norm?
It depends. If it's a big FPV, like, end of the month sort of thing, CPW will give you like 2 weeks,
Okay.
something like that. Typically, though, if you had your show on a Tuesday, results would come out a couple days after, and somewhere like the Friday, you'd get your cards. You'd have the weekend, or you know what I mean, something like that.
About 4 days mainly.
That's probably the average. Am I off there, Mullins? Like 4 days, like David's 4 days. Is that?
It just depended on which fed it is. Every fed's different.
It's definitely less than a week though. Like it's probably 4 days. So
we give 6 to 7 days.
Like a day.
Right.
Certain feds it's a couple days.
Yeah. And we give 6 to 7 days to get your videos in. So we have a strict policy on no-shows. It's not really acceptable, especially without a heads up.
We determined, I'm pretty sure, if you no-show, you're automatically going to lose.
You are definitely going to lose. You cannot win a match if you don't promo. I mean, and I don't give a fuck. I'll change whatever storyline. I'll change whatever bullshit I have to change. You will never lose to a guy who hasn't promoted. Recently, we had an issue where that happened, and I had to break character and explain that loss did not happen that way. It was a big deal. Very rarely does something slip by me, but I actually thought the guy had no-showed and he didn't. So, but yeah, I mean, like for example, Dylan Mays and Legion, they headlined our show recently. That show that you were on, Alpha Omega Old School. They both dropped promos, maybe 4 or 5 videos throughout that whole week. They were some of the best promos I've ever seen in this whole thing. And I'm talking, our admin team was just blown away. We deliberated on that match more than any match in IW history on who should go over. Because we do take work ethic into account. We do take better promos into account. If you're phoning it in, you're not going to do well here. You do need to bring your A game. If you want to phone it in, you can contend for the TV title. You want to contend for the top belts, you need to up it just like you're anywhere else. And all my guys will tell you that. But if like for Dylan Mays and Legion, man, we talked so much about that match. Who should go over? Who should win? I don't know how a competitive judge would have handled that situation because I could not, if I tried, put a number to the work they did that week. You know what I mean? And I'm a firm believer that Brett, you scored an 8.5. I'm sorry, Mullins, you scored an 8.4. It's bullshit. I'm sorry. I think it's bullshit. I'm sorry. I don't mean to crap on it or whatever, but I don't understand the 0.25 of a point. What does that mean? There's nothing to that. And I looked at these two guys who busted their ass, and I said, okay, we need to focus not on what, we have to focus also on what's better for the story. And for that show, we had Legion turn on Thomas Austin, join the House of Wolves. And in the end, the story had to take precedence in the fact that if Legion lost the belt, then it wouldn't have made for a great moment at the end of the show where he's holding his belt up with Ethan Carnage and Jeffro the IQ as the new IW House of Wolves. If he had lost, it would have, there would have been a lack there,
That's a good point. I mean, but it goes to show that you can sort of hit 2 birds with 1 stone, in the sense that you're not having to put a number based on something like that, like you said, where you have that many hypes, that much effort, and you get a better story out of it as well. I mean, that's easily 2 birds, 1 stone. hey, I mean, it
Right.
makes sense. Makes sense to me. So, I mean, there we go. Like that's IW. One of the things I want to get into though, before we sort of close this out and get into some other, a couple other things, but you mentioned Legion. We all agree the guy is on another planet. Who are some guys in IW if someone's coming fresh in, they haven't been in, and they're looking to get a taste of IW, they're looking to get a sense of the talent, but they'll see Legion, they'll see some of the other. Who are some of the underappreciated guys, or maybe not underappreciated, that's a bad word, bubbling under guys that are going to be rising up the ranks here soon that you see a lot of potential in?
This is a bit of a loaded question because when I leave, now see what happens is after they watch this show and I leave their name out, I get a message in my inbox, man, what the fuck, man? It's hard for me to say because we might have a legend in IW who's been with us for a year almost, who no one else beyond IW has ever heard of or knows about. I think Pitbull, Jose Perez, he's in the trios thing right now. I think he's phenomenal. He's been with IW pretty much since the very, very beginning. He maybe joined 3 weeks after we started. He's incredible. I think he's great. Cody Fox is another one that comes to mind. He's killer. If you want to join IW and see somebody that represents what we're about, Cody Fox is great. Adam Malloy. I mean, all these guys are great. It's hard for me to list them off. I feel like I want to list them all off, though, dude, because, I take pride in all of these guys. I appreciate the work that they put in. I think they're all great, and it's never about who's better or worse. Mullins can attest to this. The OOC feedback and positivity back and forth within the group is stellar, man. I love that guys will go a whole week promoing against each other. The results will come out, and at the end of it, regardless of who won or lost, somebody said, they usually both go, hey, man, it was fun working with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in a wrestling show at the end, they go backstage and they shake hands, right? They put on a great match. It's the same concept here, Well,
and I think that's what a lot of people, even in competitive feds, I think a lot of people want that. I know a lot of people do that, but because of that competitive edge, it can sometimes make it hard because you
sours it a little bit.
Yeah, you're kind of like, oh, well, I felt I should have won. And if you're a little bit agitated that way that day, or you've been on a losing streak, you might see that result and just turn off the phone.
I've always said, man, we all think we're better than we really are, right? I mean, Travis Cole is humble, but let's say, I know he knows he's good. He might think he's better than he really is. Most people do. At least, like, what I mean is we all take pride in our work. You know what I mean? We think we deserve more than we get most of the time. Even one of the top guys in EFED promo wrestling or whatever can lose a match, and everybody's sitting there scratching their head, going, "How the hell does that happen? How do you watch that video and think this guy won?" So of course he's sitting there going, "Yeah, man, fuck, I should have won. What the fuck? It's bullshit. It's rigged." And you get into that crap. Luckily, we don't have that in IW. I've always said, man, we're having fun. We're turning our cameras on. I think when you start adding in scores and stuff like that, you take a little bit of fun out of it. Some people enjoy the competitive thing. That's great. If you want to do competitive promo wrestling, there are a fuck ton of EFEDs for you to join. You can get scored from multiple different people. If you want to do something a little bit different, you can try out IW. I'm not plugging it right now. It sounds like that, but
Well, feel free. That one of my next questions is going to be like, what's on the docket for IW? What do we got coming up down the pipe right away? I mean, might as well take advantage of it. I mean, we've been talking to the history and talk it up. You got a lot of talent there. You got a good show. There's hate, but you know what? That's what this podcast is about, is bringing people together in this community, because competitive or not, we're doing the same thing. They were
It is.
promoing.
We're turning a camera on and we're making an ass out of ourselves. I don't know about too many people that do this, but I don't exactly advertise this to my coworkers that I run an e-wrestling page, right? I'm not showing it to my family and Thanksgiving. Hey guys, look what we do here, you know. Generally it is kept secret, you know, because we're all a tad embarrassed about it. You know what I mean? It's our own thing though, right? So we turn on the camera, we have a good time. It shouldn't matter about wins or losses to me. It's about having fun, putting on a good show, feeling like you were a part of something. You know, I like to think that we are all the equivalent of people who sing in the shower. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. When I go in the shower and I'm singing in the shower, motherfucker, I think I'm the best singer on planet Earth, right? Please don't ever record me and show it to everybody, though. You know, definitely don't judge me by it. Please don't give me a score on what I pulled out in there. We're all amateurs, though. You know, most of us. Of course, we have actually gotten some indie guys in this, but I mean, you do this for fun. I do this for fun. I don't think I should judge you on how good you are at it. I'm no better or worse than you, in my opinion. Now, of course, you have guys who are clearly on different wavelengths. Okay, I understand that. You have Legion and you have I'm going to throw somebody under the bus. You have a David Hill. Okay.
Hey, don't you dare disrespect Gary Man David Hill. God damn it, David.
Yeah, well, you won't like my promo against him.
I will come into IW and defend David Hill's right. You can book me into the story where I will defend his. He's the Gary Man. He's taking blue pills and he's doing disgusting, nefarious stuff with women.
I have no real issue with David Hill. Just clear different wavelengths there. But I think again, like when you have a Legion and you have a Matt Minnick, man, that's who's really better there. You know what I mean? It's two totally different styles, two totally different videos. It's so hard to judge. Come to IW where it don't fucking matter, you know. And it's about having a blast videoing. You know, one of the major reasons why comp guys join IW, they tell me all the time, I'm not restricted. We don't have any rules. Not really, not rules on your promos. You can go as long as you want if you want to. I don't advise it. Don't do a fucking 15-minute promo because I ain't gonna watch it. Okay, not the whole thing. But you can say whatever you want to say. You don't have to mention the arena. If you don't, I'm not gonna take you. You don't lose your match if you forgot the name of the arena. You know, stuff like that. Cut loose. You know, do whatever you want to do. You know, there's no limitations. There's no restrictions. You can promo as much as you want. You can promo every day if you want to. You're not going to win because you did. I'm gonna look at that and go, okay, well, he loves promoing, and that's another thing. Most of the guys that join all these eFeds, they do it because they want a video. They want to do this a lot, you know. So a lot of the guys in IW that are exclusive, they don't feel the need to join a bunch of eFeds. I don't limit them on how many hypes and promos they can drop, you know. So that's something too.
And in terms, you said you've got people can do whatever they want. That you got that free range. Does that extend to characters as well? Like if I came in there and said, you know, I got this idea for a new character that is just, I don't freaking know, the Vacuum Man or something, I could probably make that work. But, you know, totally, for example, or someone else, you know, comes in and they've got an idea for a risky character. I'm assuming IW is just going to say, dude, flesh it out. Like, show us what you got.
You know, we've had some issues before in the past because we had a character who was racist.
Okay, okay, maybe there's limits, but carry on.
But what I mean is now he didn't drop the hard, you know, he didn't drop any N-bombs or anything like that. But he was just playing that Southern racist. He would make racist jokes or comments. We had a little bounce back on that, but for the most part, everybody was cool with it and got over it, and it was something that came and went. But you know, I try to allow people to do whatever they want to do. If you want to be the fucking Vacuum Man, buddy, well, you know, pull out your rainbow vacuum and let's get going. You know what I mean?
I'm the Hoover Man, and in my experience of sucking, you, sir, suck the most. I don't know. Something stupid like that. So there we go. We got IW. Mullins, do you have any questions specifically on IW at all before we get into the next little short phase?
Not really. I mean, no.
Yeah, we covered most of it. So, David,
Yeah.
the one thing I'm curious to ask, you got a wife, you got some kids, you're an eFed owner. How do you balance it? How does life operate? How do you balance the two?
I'll tell y'all this, and this is maybe a good platform for it. I'm looking to pull back at some point significantly. I feel very confident in the team that I have that helps me run IW right now. I only do a few hands-on things left at this point. I have a team of writers that write most of the matches. The two other groups that we have are booked by different people. I only book the Alpha show and help write for that show. But I'm looking to pull back from that as well. It is hard as hell. It's tough, dude. I mean, my kids are 3 and 2.
Oh boy.
I mean, that's why I can't promo. I would love to be more. I've done a couple of promos, and people tell me they're good. I think they're blowing smoke up my ass so they'll win. But I'd love to participate more as a competitor. But I just, man, to find the time to cut a promo where my little boy isn't, daddy and all over me and shit, it's hard, dude. It's tough when I'm sitting there typing away at the computer and they're wanting my attention. It is tough, and anybody with kids in this group can attest to that. So, it's tough, man. But I find the time. My wife does hate it. She's not a fan, thinks it's just corny, and I'm not trying to convince her otherwise. But it's the one thing I do right now, aside from work and eat and sleep, that is fun for me. So she's really is cool about it, but she gives me a hard time.
So it's fun for you. Are you having more fun now with the success of IW and all this than back in the early days of it all, or how do you compare?
That's a great question, actually, man. I feel like we've grown so big it can't get much bigger. I really do feel that. If it got any bigger, I feel like it would just be watered down. I think we're good at 3 groups, and we have a developmental territory. We've had a developmental territory since January. That does find new talent all the time, and sometimes people think that I recruit from their eFeds, and I'll be dead honest with you guys. I do not poach. I do not attempt to game people. I have so many people right now, I really almost feel overwhelmed by it. There is no interest in me to take 10 people from PWA, dude. We're full. Really, it's almost to a point where I would love to lock it down completely and just say, okay, get on a waiting list almost. You know what I mean? I know it sounds arrogant maybe, but it's a lot of people, and a lot of people that we try to make all look good and all enjoy the show and the game. And it's a lot of responsibility. I've thought about stopping before, but when I go to the group page and I scroll down the group page and I'm seeing all these people having fun and a good time, I can't bring myself to let it go. So I care about the group and the people in it, and even the people I've met outside of it. To walk away at this point would be hard, but I had a lot of fun building it up. I had a lot of fun building it up. That's my thing, Eric Bischoff, Vince McMahon, those are my idols. It's like for me to play that. You play a character. To me, that's my character, is the eFed owner. So that was a lot of fun to build it up to where it is now. Has been a blast.
Well, I'm glad to hear. And you said you talked about, you scroll down, you see everyone having fun. That's what I see too. The passion for IW. There's a lot of passionate guys, and there's a lot of people that just go in there and they're doing their thing. It's a highly successful Fed, lots of talent. I think you've done a great job. I appreciate you getting on here and telling us everything about it, clearing up some of maybe these misconceptions, and kind of showcasing this other wing of promo wrestling, at least in this modern little corner of it. More of the backstory, what guys like Jeff Teeters and Legion have found out already, and maybe there is an interest there, and hopefully with some of the misconceptions cleared up, we can get past some of this, this nonsensical sort of back and forth. We're all in this together.
Right.
You present a different brand, and there's other brands. They can coexist.
It's all it is. We march to a beat of a different drum. If we ever come off that we are arrogant or are against competitive eFeds, that's the wrong image. If any of my guys are putting that out, that's not what we're about. We're just about us. We do our thing. Y'all do y'all's thing. The secret and key to my success has always been that IW is a different thing. We've had people want IW to do competitive scores and stuff, and I've thought about it before, but at the end of the day, that's what, we're Adidas, there's Nike. We're different. It's something else. I don't want to be the TNA to WWE. I want to be something. I want to be ECW, or something different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, no, and props to it. Keep that uniqueness. That's something in promo wrestling that gets noticed. The individuals or groups that find a way to be unique, because, like I said, you got a ton of stuff floating out there. Millions of feds. Well, maybe not millions, but a lot of feds, and a lot of individuals, and it's the uniqueness where you find your niche and you can attract others. Mullins, do you have anything else to add? Any final words about your wife? Maybe.
I mean, since your roster's so big, would IW ever be willing to help out an upcoming eFed?
It's actually very funny that you mentioned that, because not that long ago we were contacted by a group called Asylum Wrestling, and this is just a totally unknown group. I don't even know how they found us, but the guys messaged me and they said hi. They were very respectful, very nice, and just said, introduced themselves and explained to me that they are, I think they've only been around for like 3 months. They see IW, could we do anything? Is there any, how could we be involved with you guys? And I said, well, let me take a look. I looked at their group, and we sent guys over there. IW exclusive guys have been sent to this group because they need talent. Now they sent talent to us as well, and now they're fully in IW now it's iWrestling presents Asylum, but that was their choice. They wanted to do that. I sent them probably 10 guys. It's no secret that Mullins, I even talked to you about it. I wanted to do that with TOPW. No hard feelings that it didn't work out, but I did.
I was down for it, but
I understand, and it's no big deal. I was totally for saving TOPW and still.
I was too. I was putting all that work in for.
Right.
Now I'm trying to build up dope. And
it's tough.
I don't know.
It's tough. I would, if I had to start an e-wrestling, if I was somebody else and I came into this community, I wouldn't want to make an eFed. I'd say it's too at this point, it's too dominated, to be an up and coming eFed now is fucking real hard.
Yeah. There certainly is a lot of feds. And it probably adds to the exclusivity, that
right.
Maybe that is more of a direction in terms of people spanning out so much and so many feds. And,
well, yeah, and that's another thing. I mean, I think when guys get exclusive, it cuts down on a lot of the smaller ones, and no offense to anybody, but those smaller ones, a lot of times were just a pain in the ass. They never really worked out long, and guys would try to promo for it, but then they'd forget and they'd no show, and then it'd fall to the wayside. It was just really a waste of time for a lot of guys. I mean, even like SPW or the one Dylan made, it just didn't work out. There's These guys are spread so thin. You know, some of these guys are in every EFED. It's hard for them to. I think they mean well by taking on another one, but a lot of times it just doesn't work out. You know, they forget, or it's not their home fed, and it falls to the wayside.
That's very true. And with that, then, I think, like I said, again, thank you, David. This has been an awesome podcast. Learned a ton about yourself, about the Fed, about some of the guys in your Fed, your whole operation. I think you guys should be very proud of what you've done to come this far in a year, and seeing what we've seen 2 years ago to this point. Remarkable growth. Like I said, something to really be proud. So congrats, man, to hit the 1 year anniversary and to be stronger than you were, and to keep growing. You're going to limit, but through maybe even some restrictions, that's when you can really build it up even further, I think, right? You fan it out too much, you can kind of lose. But, awesome job doing that. Shout out to all the guys in IW. Keep doing what you're doing. Except this weekend in PWS, because I get.
Yeah, I know conflict events.
Still kind of yeah. I don't know who I want to win, because honestly, I was hoping these two teams would actually be clashing in the very finals, the final match of the damn tournament. Fucked up.
Well,
what a waste.
Blame Cowbell. Whatever happens, I mean.
Ending of the tournament wasted.
Well, no, I don't think so. I think you got, all, how many freaking teams are there? 16 teams?
Right.
All of them good, all of a lot of talent. And the remaining 4 teams, you look at, that is a world-class tournament. And I think you guys being in there only aided that for sure. Last year it wasn't as big. So remarkable talent. Yeah, this matchup's coming now, but regardless, whoever wins this weekend, the finals are going to be awesome.
The thing was never about winning, to be honest with you. And Legion was very adamant that we probably wouldn't win in PWS, just because we're so unknown. Our point was just to go and make a statement. That's all we wanted to do, was just showcase a little bit of our guys. That's all we took the opportunity to do. So, definitely whoever wins I think whoever wins our match is going to win the whole thing, but
I think you guys, it's been absolutely killer. You guys have totally made a statement. I think most people in that wing who maybe are in IW, if they wouldn't agree to that statement, I don't think they were paying attention. I mean that with all due respect, because really hard to ignore. So thanks again, David, for joining us. We'll have to get you back on here again soon.
Brother.
You got a lot of history, way more we can even talk about. Mullins, so yes, thanks, David. Mullins, what about you? How's your wife? How are you going to close it off? Just give us a 30-second wrap-up of what we can expect this weekend during the Mullins Forgiveness Special.
How about me taking this to your skull?
Is that a...
Mallet, and it will hurt like hell.
I'm starting to see why you're
out of you with it too.
Starting to see why maybe your wife doesn't want to get back together with you, because it seems that you have anger issues. Okay, so
you fucking psychopathic Looney Tune.
Well, look forward to Saturday night. We're gonna bring you the Mullins Forgiveness Special. It's gonna be fantastic. We might have a live music performance. I'll bring a little xylophone. Is that what it's called? Ting, ting, ding, 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 ding. Anyways, it'll be fantastic. Thanks to David. Thank you all for watching. Have an excellent evening. Enjoy your weekend. Goodbye.